Started. Started.
Thank you. So we will wait a little longer as it is so 3 minutes because I think 27 people.
Okay.
Maybe there will be 27 participants today. So I want to waiting for few minutes.
Transcription.
Oh, YouTube moving.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So wait, no? Oops.
My little dog came to join us.
Hello.
Okay.
Oh, just 10 participants. All right. Oh, okay. Let's get started. Again, hello everyone. Good morning, good evening. Welcome to AWS Global Community Gathering. This is our third meetup. This event is for anyone around the world who is interested in AWS. So we've set the schedule in UTC. Today, we have participants from various time zones join us. Thank you so much. So, all right. Once again, thank you so much for being here today. And huge thanks to all our speakers. Thank you as well. I hope this event can provide even a small hint or inspiration for someone. And also, connections matter. If you'd like, feel free to drop your social media handles in the Zoom chat and connect it with each other. And then, then a quick intro about us. This community is organized by Yuki and me. I'm Hiromi. Nice to meet you. Great to meet you. So if you're interested in helping with the organization, let us know. And Here's today's schedule. We have 5 amazing speakers: Brian, Nana, Astos, Manny, and Mayor. Each of them will give a 15 minutes around a talk on different topics. I hope you'll find something useful from their insights. Thank you, Brian. So, and thank you. So, and let's give them a big round of applause. This event will run for about 2 hours, so please stay with us as long as you can. So, and to all participants, for the first time, we are also streaming this event on YouTube. This is a big challenge for us. We didn't officially promote it, but the recording will likely be available later. Feel free to share your thoughts in the Zoom chat anytime. And if you are comfortable speaking, you are welcome to join the discussion outside of the speaker sessions. And about this community, it's very quickly talking. We aim to create a truly diverse and inclusive space through our study sessions by connecting with people around the world through AWS and technology. We hope everyone can find something valuable for their journey. We especially welcome first-time speakers and those who haven't had many chances to present before. So please feel free to make use of this community. And we also have a Discord channel. If you are interested, please join us. This community is still new and we are figuring things out as we go. But we are excited to grow together with all of you. And then, so starting this year, we are hosting events every month. We'll do our best to make this community even better. So we'd love for you to continue joining us. We are always working on improvements and we are also looking for speakers. If you are interested in sharing something, please reach out to us. And again, thank you all for being part of this community. So,
Yomi,
okay.
today to live streaming to YouTube.
Oh, yes.
Anything? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
So saying,
Okay.
okay. Okay,
Thank you.
no problems.
All right, let's get started with our first session. Lion, are you ready?
Hey, can I go second?
Okay.
Yeah, it's very early for me and I would love to grab myself a coffee.
Okay, okay,
We'll be
okay.
more
You
coherent.
need okay.
So let me go second.
Okay. You need it. So, So, Nana? Hello, Nana?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi. So,
Yes.
are you ready?
Yes, give me a few minutes. I thought it'll be second, so just give me a few
Okay,
minutes.
okay, okay, okay,
All right, then, so a few minutes.
okay. So, okay.
Hey, Romy, do you want me to go? I mean, I'm all right if you want me to
Oh,
go.
really? So, thank you so much.
No worries. I just need to, adjust my camera. It might take. Let me see how it goes.
Okay.
Okay, let me know if I'm
Hmm?
visible.
Okay.
Okay, hang on. So, all right. So I'm all set. I can do. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, no
Mhm.
problem.
Let me share my screen, guys.
Mhm.
How do I do that? More. How do I share my screen? Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
button.
Oh, yes.
You have disabled participant screen share. You might want to make the host first.
Okay, okay, okay. Here you go.
Mhm.
Okay, apparently this option, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
not available to me.
Not available?
Hang on. It is asking me to quit and rejoin. Just
Okay.
hang on.
I'm ready, just in case you want me to go.
I'm not ready. So, okay. Can you try your share screen?
Okay. Let me know if I can go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So I'm trying to share,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
and if I'm unable to share full screen.
Okay, Nana, are you going next or shall I take one?
Yeah, I'm trying to share. I still don't have access to share, so you go ahead after you. I'll figure it out.
All right, let me know when my screen is visible, guys, and I'll try to go full screen on my PPT. Generally, I play with a lot of screens, but today I have only one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All set?
Perfect.
I did not realize that I have to go first. But yeah, that's a lot of ad hoc things that generally come into picture
Mm-hmm.
when you are presenting online and live. All right, so I'll start. I'll start with this famous quote by Alvin Toffler, who said, in 21st century, definition of illiterate would change, and it's not someone who cannot read and write, but someone who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I would love to focus upon this one particular word called unlearn. That's very essential since it's an ever-changing technology we are facing. And if you ask 2 years ago, nobody would have dreamed about things like Gen AI and AI taking over the world in such large scale. But yeah, you have to come out of your old shackle, and then we are new attire, and all of a sudden you might be a developer, and now you would be a Gen AI developer. Okay, so this is how this new era has evolved, and let me set the intent of the session. And this is not about bragging my achievements, and I get to hear a lot. People just showcase their certifications and all, and neither it is about running through my entire life, each and every command I have executed on AWS. Nor I'm going to showcase a list of certification arrays. And I promise I'm not going to talk about AI or Gen AI, at least in first 20 minutes, so that everybody is having conversation where AI and Gen AI are integral part of that. What I would rather do is I'm going to talk about how you can take a beginner step into AWS world. And when I say beginner step, you don't have to be absolute beginner. I know we have guys like Brian who are working since almost last 4 decades. These guys are super pro. And I have just comparatively started my career yesterday only. So my particular session would be about how I transition my role into this world of AWS, what kind of challenge I faced, and how I had to adjust my mindset, and a sample roadmap if it helps you. So this is me. My name is Ashutosh, and I'm going to take you to my journey to cloud. Anything that you see in small font, you can find it on LinkedIn, but there is something I wish to highlight that might interest you. I started as a Java apprentice, and you wouldn't believe I never liked coding. And for my professional job, I never earned a penny by coding. I switched my career to a manager at one computer training institute, and that is how I learned my passion towards technology. Before that, I knew, yes, I did my master's and everything, but I was never so passionate about technology. But my first step was not into AWS, rather I became a DBA. Not a great one, apparently. And kept on struggling for first few years. We all do struggle, definition of struggle might change, but we all struggle. So that's a bit of, what is the word? That's a bit of history that somehow lands me upon AWS. Had I started liking my job into Java, or had I been so successful as a DBA, I would never have looked into AWS world. But since that did not happen, here I am. So this session, if you think you're wondering this session is for you or not, so let me tell you, if you want to start your journey in AWS, or maybe if you've already started your journey, but you want to accelerate, you do not know what choices I have next. And you are struggling just like me, do not know coding or fundamental of networking, but still want to boost your career in AWS. Also struggle with short attention span. I cannot focus more than maybe 15 minutes on a particular thing. I have to take a break and come back. So if you find yourself in any of these, this session is for you. You can learn a thing or two from my failures at least. All right, so let's get on. And as I said, this session is titled as My Journey to the Cloud. There would be a bit of me part involved, but I don't mean to brag anything about me. All right, these are mostly my failures and foundational. So I did my master's in IT, and that was done in 2010. Post that I started my career as a manager as Computer Institute. I had hardly anything to do with actual technology, but I saw the rise of SAP, big data, databases, everything going up. I also realized, based on the demand, that what are the courses have better demand than others. And that's what drew me to Oracle technology. And I started working at Oracle as a DBA. That was year 2012. I joined a world of geeks. Everybody knew how to do shell scripting, Python, Java, all those programmings were available at everybody's sleeve, except me, of course. I started feeling lost, and then I moved to a different journey than Oracle DBA. That was Oracle Applications DBA. Slightly better. You don't have to deal with a lot of SQL queries. You still have to deal, but not a lot. But there was a graphical interface provided to me I was very fascinated about. But after a while, I did not like that too as well. I mean, I told well in advance, I was a DBA and apps DBA, but not a great one. Not a complete and utter disaster, but yeah, something that you don't like as your passion, you do not want to sustain there. So I used to, go to my job, get the job done, and that's it. Could never sense how my career would grow. Was looking at the same path, will turn into a project manager and then lead and everything. But then somebody told me about AWS, and it was year 2013, 14, and just to let you know, guys, I think number of services those we have today in AWS are close to 400. Back then, there were about 20 services, maybe EC2, VPC, RDS. So before I move into what happens, this is a phenomena I want to discuss about. I want to take 2 minutes and see if you can relate to that. This is called sunk cost fallacy. Yeah, see, Brian is jumping. So have you ever watched a movie for half an hour that you know you're not gonna like it, but just so you have spent half an hour on that movie, you want to still finish that? Or else you feel that those half an hour that you have been invested or spent would be waste of your time or money. You bought a DVD, you know you're not gonna like it, but still watch it. If you can correlate something like that, that's a sunk cost. It's a phenomena where, you are reluctant to abandon a strategy where you have invested too much, even though it's very clear that you're not going to get a lot of success in that and better opportunities are available. That's a sunk cost fallacy. And I don't know about everyone, but most of the guys I have met, in one way or another, they acknowledge that they have gone through it. We have seen a lot of transformation in terms of technologies. There were mainframes, and those guys were reluctant that I don't want to move to standard computer world, because they have invested about 10 years, 15 years, 20 years into mainframe. Why would they acknowledge existence of cloud? Somebody who has done heavy programming in Pascal or COBOL, they would try to justify why not to go with Java or any modern technology. Maybe partially they are correct. There's a learning curve and it stops after a while. But it's more likely you are thinking that you have invested so many years into this technology. Let's make some use of it so that you don't have to start from the scratch. And that's what prohibited me to get into technology as well. I was thinking I'm a different guy. And even though I was in Oracle, when AWS knocked at my door, I said, no, let me do something more with Oracle and be successful on that. So keep this phenomena in your mind and let's go next. So once I was done with that phenomena, I realized, okay, I don't see much of my career in DBA. Yeah, it's a great success for maybe someone else, not me. Let me embark my journey to AWS. I looked at an opportunity, and in Capgemini, I was working, and there was a project, Coca-Cola. These guys wanted to move their databases from MySQL to AWS RDS. Looks very simple enough. Not that simple when I didn't know what RDS is. At that point of time, had I decided not to pursue AWS just because I don't know RDS, I would still be writing fine line of SQL statements. But yeah, that was an opportunity. So I said, let me try that. I realized voice of one of my mentors that if you are skeptical about one job, just take it and learn on the job. Yeah, of course, if you are if that job is like flight pilot, don't do that. You'll put so many lives at risk. But yeah, other than that, you can do that. So I took that. Not a lot of documentation was available, but there was only one guide available at that point of time at the internet, and that was a cloud guru. Give me a holler if you guys recognize that a cloud guru from our dear friend. What's his name? Brand, can you recall that? Ryan Trunenberg. So that guy had a course, and you wouldn't believe I I bought that course on an offer. It was for $10. And till this date, that was best utilization of $10. Better utilization could have been if I would have invested into Bitcoins, but yeah, I can't go back. So I bought that course. I started learning about AWS terminologies, and slowly I started liking about those things. I said, yeah, that can be one way to look at about my career. But how do I go next? I started that RDS project, and that was done in about 3 months. And afterwards, nothing of that sort I could see in my pipeline. I was back to DBA thing. I said, let me do something else so that I can be pro in AWS. And then I started looking at freelancing projects at sites like Fiverr, and there were more similar sites where you can pick up small projects of AWS or any technology, and that will give you a bit of hands-on. Margin of error would be slightly more, because if somebody who has taken a bigger project, they can take you as a maybe their associate, and you can help them. That was my first learning. And then I also started training AWS to some folks. Yeah, I used to charge, even though I didn't know a lot, I used to charge a decent amount. But having said that, I started picking up small projects, some freelancing work, a bit of training I used to provide. Among all three, training worked best for me because it used to prepare me for the very foundation. The guys you are training, these guys would be expert in most of the institute, and they can ask questions from any side. You have to be super prepared for those questions, and that made me learn a lot about AWS. And then I started preparing for my first AWS job. I did my first AWS certification, AWS Associate, Solutions Architect Associate. And right there, I want to make a point. If somebody says certifications are not worth, they don't know what they're talking about. Because this is the only validation you will get to outside world who do not know what your capabilities are. If I have a set of guys I have to hire, and out of 10 folks, if 2 of them have AWS certificate, 8 of them do not have, it's only human nature to align my thoughts that this guy would be knowing better than others. Of course, I have to scrutiny all those 10 candidates, but more likely than not, you wouldn't believe that guys who are certified are bound to know better than others. There are other ways to obtain certification. I don't encourage or vouch, but trust me, if somebody has legally obtained a certificate, they cover all the foundation, and it does help in your exams. I beg your pardon, in your interviews. And then there came multiple rounds of rejection. I think it was about after 5 rounds, I lost the zeal. I started realizing, maybe this field is not great for me. Just wait, we are still in year 2015. You are more likely to land on a table of AWS interview where even interviewer wouldn't know much about AWS, then facing a pro AWS guy. I have happened to be on AWS interviews where somebody asked me something absolutely not related to AWS, maybe some other cloud technology or non-cloud technology. They will just brag it. But yeah, a lot of rounds of rejections, and you have to have a thick skin for that, by the way. But then eventually I got a job. And that's how my AWS journey started. 2015, I got a job at Oracle as cloud ops support. This is my re-entry to Oracle. It was not entirely on AWS. It was Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, OCI back then. But yeah, it was something, that would make you familiar with managed services, monitoring, and you will troubleshoot day-to-day things. Not something I would really vouch today for myself, but yes, this is a job that gives you a lot of headache, but makes your foundation very strong. I did that thing for quite a while, and then I moved on to another company as a cloud engineer. That is where, not a lot of difference, but now instead of managing the infrastructure, I used to build solutions and maybe install EC2s, VPCs, and Route 53. So that's a kind of upgrade for me. 2019, I joined Accenture as cloud architect. It took a while for me to convince folks around me that I really can design stuff. Nobody by default believes you that you can design stuff. That's the thing about architecture. You trust no one because you can create a solution that would create a technical debt after 4 years. Your product owner may not realize immediately. So I joined as a cloud architect at Accenture, and then I worked there for about 2 years and turned into a consultant. Now the job was slightly different. I don't have to look at technology and map it to a business. I'd rather have to look at a business problem and then trace back to what technology solution I can find. And a couple of months ago, I started leading practice of consultant inside LTI Mindtree. So that's a journey now. Now this is a journey, but there is a trend. I did not play one role for a long time, and there is a natural transition going upward in some definitions. Now, this is where I want to spend 5 minutes to tell you how the mind shifting really works and what kind of methodologies you can undertake to overcome from this dilemma. Because a lot of folks, they join at whatever level, but their mindset probably aligns to more what they were doing in the past job than they are doing now, or they are expected to do. So remember, when you join as a beginner, as a maybe cloud ops, you try to, or it's rather a beginner, you don't know where your journey would be. So you try to get into the head of service that, okay, what is EC2? What is S3? These fundamental things, what are the features? And if you know that, that takes you at the first step. But then when you start taking your job as operations, this is where you need to go beyond EC2 and S3. And why I'm taking these two services as an example, because these are the foundation services, and I assume everybody would know that. So this is just an example, and this can extend to any service. Now you don't have to just think about EC2 and S3, what these services are, but if my EC2 server fails, how do you fix it? If S3 bucket you cannot access over a VPC, how do you fix that? If you have to make a local communication between EC2 and S3, how do you do that? So it's more about helping day-to-day function of cloud infrastructure. And then if you're an engineer, it's slightly different. Now the mindset evolves to, all right, this guy is talking about connecting S3 to EC2, but there are about 5 ways to do that. Now for this very use case, which approach would work best? And when I say best, that might mean different thing to different people. It might be best from cost perspective, or it might be from performance perspective, or from resiliency perspective. But as an engineer, you should know multiple ways to do that same job. And that's what an engineer is supposed to do. And then you get into a cloud architecture role. Now you start thinking, all right, they are talking about EC2 and S3, but do we have any other service that can get the job done in better way? Do you really need as EC2? I can propose EKS cluster or maybe Lambda, and that can do the same job. Let's contemplate between choices, and that's what an architect is supposed to do. They would build and design architecture, and then probably they will contemplate between choices. They will evaluate what trade-offs are, and they will take a decision. And then as a consultant, it's a very different job. Now, this is what I do. See, the problem with the technologist is, and I have been technologist for a long time, we take technology as a solution, and we know the solution. For example, we have Amazon Q. But Amazon Q is a solution, but we need to identify what business problem can this solution solve. And it's rather you approach from, there is a business problem. Maybe There is a shopping mall. This shopping mall is struggling with sales because they cannot collect their customer data and make use of that. Now, what AWS service can solve this problem? Take a problem, align to a solution. That's what a business mindset does. A technology mindset, I have a solution. Let me try to hit to multiple problems and see if it works out. So when that was a major shift, mind shift. When I joined as a consultant, I was told, do not start solutioning everything. Look at a problem. Nobody wants technology for the sake of it. They're trying to solve a problem and see if your solution can solve that problem. So this is how I grew up into my mindset, and then that it helped me. When I was an engineer, I never bothered about how much this solution would cost in 5 years. But now I think about those things. All right, so important slide. Having all these things heard, what you should do now, if you're thinking of growing your career in AWS, these are my 5 steps, or rather a plan. Get your foundation right. Create your free tier AWS account. Take courses from Udemy. Almost all the courses cover fundamental pretty all right. Even AWS offers some free courses. Take that, create free tier account, get yourself certified. For foundational course, most of the organization, if you are partnered with AWS in any way, they have vouchers even. If not, it costs hardly $150. If you are part of any community program, you might get those vouchers. But what a certification would do is it will give you a roadmap to get on yourself on a proper technology of AWS track. Once this is done, you need to start thinking about implementing that. How you're going to leverage that? So there are a lot of projects available. You can take participation in freelancing work, or there are YouTube videos and channels that will help you to create a capstone kind of project. Get that done. Create a website. Now you have AI. You can just ask, I'm learning AWS. Suggest me a solution, and they will tell you what to do. Altogether, you need to get your hands dirty, try out these different services, stitch them together to build a couple of solutions. And this is kind of my secret recipe: compound learning. I've been doing this since last 6, 7, 8 years. Somehow, every evening before I go to bed, I find 5 minutes to learn something about AWS. It might be very well that the AWS might have launched a new service. I'll just go through introduction of that, or maybe 5-minute videos that they put it on their landing page. Do whatever, just spend 5 minutes, and I don't think it's a big ask. If you can put it on TV, put your headphone, do that. And even though it's 5 minutes, but it will start compounding over a period of time. And then you have learned actually a lot. And join AWS communities. I'll tell you, it's a lifesaver. It will give you enough platforms, enough opportunities to implement your knowledge, a lot of networking opportunities, a lot of learning materials you can find. You can find live and free sessions that you can join, like this one, of course. But that will get you in the mix. You would know what exactly is going on in the world of AWS. It will bring you inside the circle of AWS, where people will live and breathe technology. And I think this is all you can do at this point of time. Even though all of these are small steps, if you do it for a year, you would know that you have taken already a giant step towards your career in AWS. With this, what I'll do is I'll bid farewell and say thank you very much, guys. Once again, my name is Ashutosh. I lead head of cloud consulting for one of the largest firm in India, LTI Mindtree. I'm also AWS ambassador, AWS certification SME, and a few more things. You can connect me on LinkedIn. There is my QR code. I don't know how this top mate thing works, but somebody suggested me. Feel free to reach out and connect. Thanks a lot, guys, for giving me opportunity on this platform to speak and share my experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. That's such an interesting career. Thank you so much. So, next, all right. Nana, are you ready to go?
Yes, I am. I'll be sharing my screen, so let me know.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Can you see my screen? Hopefully it's visible now.
Yes, I
Can you see it?
yes.
Okay, great. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So today I will be speaking about my transition into tech, and how AWS helped me, just to encourage everybody who is on their journey and into the tech field. All right, so I'll speak about cloud computing, my journey, what you actually need to transition, and how to do your transition, and then I'll open up for questions if there are any. So usually there's a myth that people will say that if you want to get into tech, you need to have a background in computer science. You need to learn how to code. You need to know how to code. You need to have a certification to get into the tech field, or you need to be good at math or science. Fun fact, I don't have any of these. I mean, before I got into tech, I didn't have a computer science certificate. I didn't know how to code. I didn't have a certificate yet. And I wasn't good at maths and science because actually it was one of the subjects I never liked in class growing up, right? But my journey in tech is from a non-traditional field. I moved in from a political science and international affairs. So political science for my undergrad, international affairs for my master's. And then my very first contact with tech was the AWS Research Program. I got into the program where I was introduced to cloud computing, getting the very basics of computer fundamentals as well. And then through that, I was able to secure internship. So my first role was an internship, and then I became a cloud trainer, and then through that, a technical product manager. So since then, I'm 2 times AWS certified and a 2-time awardee of the AWS All Builders grants. Second time, I was a mentor. And some of the roles that I've done so far are cloud engineering, cloud training, and technical product management. You might be thinking, if I wanted to get into tech or even learning AWS, what do I need? What you actually need, you don't need the computer science, you don't need that learning how to code from the beginning, right? What you actually need is first is the desire and then the mindset. You need to be able to decide that you want to start this journey. There's always something about wishful thinking that if you do not add any action to it, you never achieve what you want to achieve. So you need to have the desire and then the mindset and then consistency. It's better to take small steps than decide to take big steps as a goal and then stop in the middle of the way, right? So what I'll say for anybody trying to get into tech is do not put so much stress on yourself. Take it one day at a time. Don't try to learn everything together. Take a bit at a time, progressively, and then you'll be able to actually learn, right? And you'll be able to make progress. And sometimes if you take a big chunk of things to learn, you get overwhelmed and then you stop in the way. You're not able to continue. Third thing is having an action plan. Let's say you want to get into tech, you want to learn AWS. What's your plan? What are you going to start with? What are the resources available? Because right now on the internet, there are tons of information everywhere that when you start picking everything to read, your mind is going to become very cumbersome. So put up an action plan that this is the roadmap I want to use. I'm going to start with maybe the basics, learn Linux, learn this, and then I'm going to have like projects. I'm going to do this. That's the action plan. If you don't have an action plan, you will be moving in circles. You keep moving and then you realize that there's a new technology and then you're just going to run up and say, oh, I need to learn this. I need to learn it. Trust me. If you want to get into cloud, you don't have to learn everything in tech. It's not everything that you need, right? So you have to sit down and figure out which part of tech you want to do, which part of tech or the cloud field that you want to be in, and what is very necessary for you to learn, for you to be able to move to that. And then on the last slide, which I'll take a bit of time on, is how to transition. So first off is to choose a field. Choose a field. What field do you want to do? In cloud, you want to be a solutions architect, you want to be a cloud developer, you want to be a cloud consultant. You know, our earlier speaker spoke about like the various careers that he's done. And then trust me, they have like different roles, you know, they do like basically different things. So choose what you want to do. And thing is, find people to mentor you, people in that role, because people who have already learned, once you are learning from them, you are able to avoid some of the mistakes they've had, right? So let's say if you're getting into cloud, and then you find people who have already been on the field, try to ask them what are some of the mistakes, what are some of the things they learned along the way, what are some of the smart ways you think they can help you to learn, right? That's something that's going to help you. And then the third thing is project-based learning. I always tell people that in the beginning, this was something that I think that I should have done earlier. Rather than just learning the theory, try to add the project to give you a solid understanding. And once I started doing that after my first certification was the cloud practitioner, I got a deeper understanding and appreciated what I learned more in my cloud journey. So this everything that you learn, try, even if it's a 5 minutes project, do something about it. Try and add all the services together. Try to maybe host a website on the cloud using cloud fonts. I mean, try to see how these services work, because if you just do the theory, all you know is what they do individually, but that's not what the job is going to require you to do. The job is going to require you to be able to integrate and use all these things simultaneously to achieve what you really want to achieve. So once you have like a project-based learning, it's going to help you with that. Fourth thing I'll say is build in public. Leverage social media like Twitter, like LinkedIn to learn in public, because if you are transitioning, you really want to land a role, right? For me, LinkedIn has been one of the best spaces for me to build to build in public. Whatever you learn, try to put it there. You are not going to act like an expert, but and trust me, everybody's trying to figure things out. So if you are posting, don't post for the likes, just post to hold yourself accountable, just post to also show the world what you are learning. And trust me, recruiters are out there looking out for you, and you might get hired soon, right? Fifth thing is collaboration. Join a community. Communities help you a lot. In a community, you find help, you find strength. When the journey is becoming daunting, you have people that would hold you up and encourage you. You find resources, right, that are going to help you. And there are lots of AWS communities. I mean, this community is a great opportunity for you to join, where you get access to every information about AWS or cloud computing for your benefit. And the last thing is celebrate your wins, because no win is too small. And what I've found to be very helpful is that if you celebrate a win, it fuels you, it pushes you to do better, right? Example, when I first got into tech, because I didn't have any background in tech, when I first wrote my hello world, I was so excited. I mean, to me, it was good, because I was like, oh, I'm trying to figure out, like, I'll be able to print hello world, like I'm trying to do some calculations with Python and all that. And if it made me realize that, okay, with this, it means I can do better. But if you decide that, oh, this is nothing big, let me just try and do something huge before you celebrate yourself, trust me, you would always not celebrate yourself, because you always have bugs, you always have challenging times where you need to push through. But anytime you're going through that, you remember what you've been able to do, look back at your journey, where you're coming from, what you've been able to do, right? And it's going to help you transition. So that's all I have. I'm wishing everybody the best of luck. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you need any help. But thank you so much for the opportunity to share my journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So your share really made me realize the importance of deciding on specific field. And honestly, if I hadn't come across AWS, I wouldn't be where I am today. Thank you so much. You're amazing sharing. Um, so all right, Ryan, are you ready to go?
Mic is mute. Not mic mute.
for your mute.
Okay, is that
Okay.
that?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just cats and dogs crawling all over the place. It's interesting start. So I'm going to start not with slides. I get to some slides, but I just want to talk a little bit about the cloud journey and the twists and turns, because there have been lots and lots of twists and turns, and I think that's maybe a lesson for people, especially these days with and sorry, Manu, I am going to say Gen AI. I mean, with Gen AI taking over the world, things are changing so quickly, and we have to be able to move on our feet and adjust. And so, I will say I got into computers in kind of a strange way. In that when I was at university, there was a person that I was very attracted to, and so I used to follow her to classes. And one of the classes that she went to that I was able to attend was the intro computer class. And I had no interest in computers. I didn't know what a computer was, but I was interested in this person. So I hung out in the class with her, and I essentially audited intro computers. And then the next semester, I thought, well, okay, I'll actually take the class. And at that point, since all the terms and concepts I had already seen, the class seemed very easy. So you might say that I kind of cheated at a certain level, but I do remember back then they were talking about these crazy things called files, and it's hard for people. It's probably hard for anyone on this call to imagine, but back in the day, it's like, what's a file? What are you talking about? So a lot of very strange concepts. And when I say back in the day, I was learning computers back in 1980. And so we had not a mainframe, but we had a computer from Digital, a DEC System 20, which was, and Alexa is now talking to me. Crazy.
Okay, Brian, will we be share your screen?
Oh, okay, sure.
Oh.
I mean, I actually just wanted to talk a little bit before that. I'll share the screen in just a sec.
Okay, no worries.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, this is a fine time.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No. This is fine. Share.
Oh, thank you.
Come on, just trying to get this out of the way.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, you go ahead.
From current slide. Okay, so I'll keep going. This was another thing at school. So I got into computers because I was following someone that I wanted to date. So I don't recommend that as how you all start, but we all have different kinds of journeys. I will say my senior project at university was, there's this thing called the Head of the Connecticut Regatta, which is this crew race. And I got the opportunity to write the official timing and scoring program for the regatta. And I learned a bunch of important lessons in that regard, because remember, this was the official program. So there were 600 racers who, if I got it wrong and didn't get the results, those 600 racers would kill me. And I learned that a day late was no good. The race was on a certain date, and that's just how it was. I also learned about the importance of changing requirements and being open to changing requirements. Back in the day, computer time was very, very expensive, and memory was very expensive. And so they had told me that there would be a certain number of races and each race would have no more than 20 people in it. And I was already thinking defensively. So again, back in the day, there was no such thing as a dynamic array. You said how big an array was, and that was that. That was just back in the day. So I made an array for the number of racers in a race. And they had told me the maximum would be 20. So I set it to 40, just to be clear. And the head of the computer department said, no, you're wasting too much resources. Don't make it 40, make it 21. And I said, okay. And I kept it at 40. And thank goodness I did, because on race day, 2 of the races got combined. And suddenly there were 40 racers in one race. And if I had not anticipated the change, the whole program wouldn't have worked. So it was a lesson in learning to program defensively and anticipate changes. Another change that happened during the race was quite interesting, in that as the racers got to the end of the course, there were 2 finish line buoys that marked the end of the course, the finish line. Well, one of the official race boats, they got their propeller tangled up in the buoy, and the buoy started floating downriver. And so as this happened, I happened to be at the finish line, and as one of the boats was getting towards the finish line, they yelled out to us, "What do we do? What do we do? We can't catch up with the finish line. The finish line is getting away from us." And I just yelled back to them, "Just keep rowing. You'll catch it up. We'll figure it out." Now, I had designed the system so that I could snap as many times as I needed, not just a start time and a finish time. So that I did a finish time when I thought they crossed the finish line, and then one when they actually crossed the finish line. And so it's just a notion in flexibility. So I always wanted to teach a computer course in university where I gave students the assignment, and I said the assignment is due in 3 weeks. And then 3 days into the project, I'd say, oh, by the way, all the requirements have changed, and now the project should look like this. And then another few days, I'd say, oh, the project deadline has changed, now it's this. Because that's the real world. I think students would hate this, but it would give them some experience. I want to go on to then how I got into cloud. So I was working at a company that was doing financial services analysis. And they had just started moving from an on-prem situation to the cloud. And they actually, the on-prem was 4 desktops up in the attic of a building in downtown Boston. But we had a financial customer who controlled billions of dollars, and they wanted some analysis done immediately. And our 4 computers would have taken weeks and weeks and weeks. And so I started playing with this new feature called spot instances. And I spun up a fleet of 10,000 spot instances. And we got the analysis done for this very lucrative customer by lunchtime. And it was like, whoa, that was amazing. I just spun up 10,000 instances, ran a month's worth of analysis before lunch, and then I got rid of the spot instances. And because they were spot instances, it didn't really cost me anything. And that was a very eye-opening experience for me. And, it also was interesting in that spot instances fail. And, with 10,000 instances, a bunch of them failed. Even if it was like 1% of them failed, that's still a lot of failures. And so we had to code in anticipation of failures. And Amazon, it's a Jassy or Vogel, I forget who, said everything fails all the time, so you code defensively. So these are just lessons that I've accumulated over time. And so I started doing work with AWS, and I was a developer and so on. And then I went to another company, and they were doing medical. And I was a developer there. And one fine day, the management at this company wasn't all that good. And one fine day, the entire DevOps team quit. And they had a company meeting, and they said, does anybody know how any of our stuff runs? And this is code that's running in hospitals. And I raised my hand and I said, yeah, I know how this stuff runs. And they said, great, you're DevOps. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm DevOps. And so a number of lessons learned there, perhaps. Be careful when you raise your hand. But opportunities sometimes come from disasters. And so we were running containers. Back then it was ECS. There was no Kubernetes, wasn't really on the scene at that point. And we ran ECS, and we had observability. And I will say, this was for a medical company where if our system was down, people wouldn't get their medicine in time. And so if our system failed, patients could actually die. So we took it really, really seriously. And so we were able to achieve a total of, I think it was 18 minutes of downtime in the year. So that was, we were really pleased with that. And so, I went from a developer to DevOps. As Manu said, I became an architect just because I had experience seeing what worked and what didn't work. I will say these days, I'm really trying to be in the phase of giving back. So if you've, one of the things that I can recommend to folks is there's an Amazon program called New Voices. And basically we give mentoring on how to give talks. This would be our third cadre of our cohort of New Voice mentors, but people who have taken the training with us have gone on to give talks at reInvent. And so it's really, really very powerful. I will say at my company, I'm leading a employee resource group for people who are neurodivergent. A lot of our field is, our field tends to be dominated by old white men, and we want to do better. And so, and neurodivergent people, and I count myself as neurodivergent people often have different kinds of struggles. And so we're trying to make that accessible. Another program we're doing at my company, Kalent, is we're doing a podcast series on female contributors to technology who haven't been recognized. And so we're very pleased with that. We're really trying to give back. And I have like 5 minutes left, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I'm just checking. Well, so I want to dive in a little bit to kind of another strange topic, because I think my whole talk is just a rambling collection of strange topics. I used to be a dolphin researcher in Hawaii, and this was the main dolphin that I worked with. And I actually have a whole talk on things that I've learned from dolphins about generative AI. And I'll just give you a brief sketch of this. Oh yeah, this is the bragging part, and we'll skip right over that. Yes, strangely enough, I'm a member of the International Marine Animal Trainers Association, which is, again, just random and weird. So you may have heard of Bedrock, which is Amazon's AI platform. I'm just going to skip through a bunch of these in the interest of time. So artificial AI, it's moved to the point where we can at least talk about intelligence. Now, lots of people are saying that these Gen AI systems, these perplexities, the new one, DeepSeek, are intelligent. They're not really intelligent, but they give the appearance of intelligence. But most of us have not really dealt with non-human intelligences. but we're going to have to get used to it and be doing that soon. And again, I'm just going to give you just a bit of a sketch, but these are some characters that you might want to look up and know a little bit more about in the history of Gen AI. Because one of the things that we've also been looking at in our podcast series is people don't know the history of our field. I mean, right now, everything runs in Python. And a few years ago, it was like, oh, everything's Java. It's like, well, no, it changes, it evolves, it goes in cycles. And so we don't know our history. And these are some interesting historical figures. So Marvin Minsky, the bald guy, he worked at the famous MIT Media Lab. And he had a concept called society of mind. And he said the human brain, or he said intelligence isn't one super intelligence, it's a bunch of different intelligences. So for example, you might be really great at music, or you might be really good at sports. You might be really good at interacting with people and having empathy. Those are all different, what he called agents. And I think it's really funny that now in Gen AI, we talk about, we're into the agentic part of AI where it's all about agents. And Minsky was already talking about that back in the day. The guy in the upper right, Ludwig Wittgenstein, he was talking about a philosophy called the language game, where how do people learn languages? And since AI is so much about language, it's really interesting. And Wittgenstein's whole idea was you don't learn, you think of language as a game. And think about when you start learning a board game. Maybe during COVID, when we had all this time, we started playing board games. How did you learn a new board game? There are some people who will say, let's sit down and read the rules. And that's a very hard way, actually, to learn a game. A better way to learn the game is you play a couple rounds and just watch, and you absorb the rules of the game. And he said, that's how we learn language. That's how we learn anything. I have down here in the lower left, Clippy. Hopefully many of you remember Clippy from Microsoft, the world's most hated AI. It tried to help and was very much hated. And then my friend, my dolphin friend over here, Akea Kamai. And I'll post a link to this whole talk in the Slack. But the idea is that AI is a very deep and rich field, and learning from intelligent animals is a way to gain insights into that. And it also shows that you can have a career like mine that sort of goes all over the place. And while it would be great to have a plan, I was mostly just winging it along the way. And at this point, maybe I'll stop rambling. So thanks, thanks very much, and hope this wasn't too incoherent for a Friday morning.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, Brian. Our morning, so interesting story, and your presentation style was very inspiring to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So, next, Manu.
Yeah, I can go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let me share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you can see my screen now.
Yes, but presentation mode. Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me in this session in the AWS Global Community. Thank you, Hiromi, for this opportunity, and all the speakers so far has been really great and really inspiring stories, and I hope I can do justice to them by being in the same podium. So this is a story of transformation. It's a story of how AWS has transformed my life, just like AWS has transformed the a lot of companies and how they work around the globe. As a technology worker, it has transformed my life as well. So just a brief about myself. I've worked with some of the software service companies in India, and as a cloud migration and modernization expert, I worked with a number of billion-dollar companies in helping move their workloads from on-premises into the AWS cloud. Gain a lot of valuable knowledge and expertise during this time. And so going towards my story, so this is me about 6-7 years ago. So at this time, I had already completed some more than a decade in my career, but my career was really in a very bad state. There was no career growth for me. I was working in a very stagnant technology. From the time I got out of my technological education, I was working for a company where I was working in a technology that was not really changing that much a lot. I was actually working in a ERP technology, and ERP technology doesn't really change that much. And I knew only some of the technologies and tools surrounding that particular ERP product. So I knew maybe Oracle, SQL, PL SQL, and a number of proprietary tools that the ERP suite would use. But other than that, I didn't know anything at all. So when I tried to get a new job and better my prospects as a technology worker, I found that it was really difficult for me and I was in a really bad spot. I couldn't get a better job at all. Where all my other batchmates and my schoolmates and college mates, they were going places and making their lives really better. I was stuck in a bad spot. I throughout the time I was not a coder. I didn't get into the Java, J2E, that life. I didn't get into that. So I did not know that also. So I felt like my life was completely stuck. So that's when one of my friends in my company, he told me about this cool new technology that he was working in, AWS Cloud. And he told that our company was now making some baby steps towards getting into this technology and gaining some expertise on that. And he also mentioned that the organization is running a certification drive at that time, wherein if you can get certified in AWS by a particular date, they will reimburse for you for all your certification expenses, like the exam fee. So I heard this and I felt like this was a chance that I could take. So I went into that. So I got some course out of Udemy. It was like I just said previously, I got that on a sale. It was maybe $10 or so. It was one of the best investments I did in my life. And then I got myself an AWS free tier account. I started going through the course, and I realized that I was in deep water because a lot of the things that they were talking about in the course, like network architecture, CIDR ranges, web server, all the other SSL technologies, authorization, authentication, all that stuff was new to me because I had not really learned a lot of things technologically till then. I was just being in my comfort zone and just leading a very comfortable life. So I realized that I had to learn a lot of stuff. So what I did is I started from the fundamentals and I tried to learn everything as a beginner, like what is network? How does the network communication happen from your laptop through the internet? How does it go to a website? How does it get authenticated? How do I log into a website? What happens behind the screen. I tried to learn all that. And it was difficult, but at the same time, it was also exciting because I could try out these things in my free tier account that I had. So as I was learning new things throughout this course, I did all those practical stuff in my free tier account. And incidentally, I also made some of the blunders that new beginners make when they start going into AWS. Like I remember in my first month, I let NAT gateway run for a long time, and at the end of the month, I got a 45,000 rupees bill, and I was shocked. Like this was a big amount for me. So I got in touch with the AWS cloud customer service, and I told them like, see, I'm a very new beginner to this, and I was just trying to learn AWS. This is my first time ever on cloud. So please help me, I said. And they said, yeah, I understand. We understand. They said, and they were good enough to waive off those charges for me. That itself was another learning for me. And as I got there, and then in some time, I could learn enough and I get that certification done. And once I had that certification, I could go back to my organization and say, see, I got this certification. Maybe I can do some small work in this AWS project that you guys are doing. So I got into some POC projects in the organization that was going on. And I got some valuable on-project experience that I could talk about. I learned a lot of things while doing it in a live project where the company was going. And being a cloud architect, I think the main thing is that you learn a lot of technologies because you are moving a lot of, as a migration architect, I can say, because we work with a wide range of customers and wide range of workloads, moving all those things into cloud, we end up learning a lot of stuff. Because I learned a lot of infrastructure as tools, core tools like Terraform, Puppet, Ansible, of course, CloudFormation, DevOps. I learned a lot. I worked on a lot of DevOps tools like Jenkins, Argo, Spinnaker, GitHub Actions. And once you have that workload in cloud, you need to observe that and keep logging and monitoring that. So obviously, I went into observability. I learned about ELK, Grafana, Tick Stack, many other things. So I'm always learning new stuff. And nowadays, like many others in the field, I am learning Gen AI and machine languages also. So this is me the last couple 2 years in my life. So I became a AWS community builder. I started writing extensively on the internet, various blogs about what I learned in AWS so that I can give it to other people on the internet who are also getting into this field. I created a lot of content. I became a certified as a solution architect professional. That was a very tough exam. Worked on a lot of new technologies. I went to the AWS Summit. I've been going there. I went to the Mumbai Summit. I was in the Bangalore Summit as well. And career-wise, a lot of growth. My career has grown like 4 times in the last 6-7 years now, compared to the more than a decade that I was spending in the ERP technology doing just comfortable stuff, but not really growing. So I just want to share some of the learnings from my journey that I hope might be useful to some of the people on this session. First thing is that you too can do it. Even if I can do it after being in some stagnant technology, doing nothing special for a long time, more than a decade, and I can make that change into cloud, I think you can do that too. And the second thing is get out of the comfort zone. Comfort zone is very comfy, but it will not get you anywhere really. So get out of the comfort zone. And the third thing is it's never too late to start. I mean, I spent more than a decade not doing nothing much, but I was able to make that change and it has got me somewhere very special. So I think that it's never too late. You might have already spent a long time doing some specific technology. Maybe you have taken a break from the technology and doing something else. Maybe you are not able to get into technology itself and doing something else with your life. But I feel like it's never too late to start and you can make the change. and be ready to learn and make mistakes. The main thing is that helped me in my journey is not just learning some stuff from courses or blogs or books, but actually doing the things in a practically in a free tier account and learning from the mistakes that I've made. So I feel like being ready to learn, unlearn, as Ashutosh was saying previously, and make mistakes. So I think these are the main things that will help you to make a career in cloud. I just had a number of slides on the migration work that I do. I don't know if I have time for that. Should I go into this? So as a migration architect, there are like 7 ways of migrating an application into AWS that we talk about. We call this 7 Rs. So there is rehost, relocate, repurchase, retain, retire, replatform, and refactor. So the easiest one and the fastest one is rehost, wherein it's a lift and shift approach. We take the application from the on-prem, just put it onto some EC2s on the AWS. That's it. We use a lot of automation in this field now, using application migration service and everything. But this is the easiest and fastest, but it might come with some other catches later on, like cost might be high, or you might not get all the benefits of being on the cloud, etc. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have replatform and refactor. A lot of work that I do comes in replatform, where we upgrade the operating system, we move the applications into containers, move it into modern DevOps, pipe chains and tool chains, move to managed databases like RDS. Like I used to be in the Oracle area, and I know how painful it is to manage that database, manage everything around that. It's very painful. But on the cloud, we have managed databases like RDS, where everything that the DBAs are doing, everything is managed by the AWS itself. So we don't have that pain. So that's a really cool thing about being on the cloud. Then the other thing is moving to open source. A lot of people are moving from .NET into .NET Core. So that kind of things can be done. Refactor, this is another one that I have been doing a lot, wherein we take the application when we redesign it for cloud, wherein the client wants to take more benefits of the cloud, like reliability, scalability, high availability, cost, efficiency, all those things. So for that purpose, we redesign for cloud, and patterns like Strangler pattern are used to do this. So there you can see that just when you're migrating the applications into AWS, there's a lot of things are happening there, and there's a lot of things that you get to do and learn being a cloud architect. And that has been one of the most exciting things for me, being a cloud architect, because you get into and get your hands dirty with a lot of different things, a wide range of technologies and workloads. So that has been very exciting for me. I think I will close now. I have 2 links here. One link is for my Dev2 blog, wherein I have talked about a demo. I think we don't have time for it, that whole demo. I have a recording, but I think we don't have time for that yet. So that's one thing. And I also have the QR code, my LinkedIn. So more than welcome, please get in touch with me. And if you have any questions about getting into AWS or learning about AWS, I'll be more than happy to chat. More than happy to chat about that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So I think many companies in Japan are finally starting to do lift and shift, but I believe their times are already moving beyond that. So, and by the way, I think this activity is a challenge for us, stepping out of my comfort zone. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, now our final special speaker for today is Mayor. So, apologies if I mispronounced the name.
No, completely fine. It's Mayor.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, hi.
Ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm gonna just share my screen, yeah?
You.
Just let me know once you're all able to see my screen. Okay, so hi everybody. I'm Mayor. I'm born and brought up in India, but currently settled in Germany. And I have been in Germany for close to 15 years now. I have to count how many years, but it's quite a long time that I have moved here and I've settled here. I have a family, I have 2 kids. And why am I here today? Thank you to Hiromi for having me to join this community gathering and to share some thoughts that are close to my heart. Yes, of course, as you see in the first slide, I'm going to talk about Athena and S3 because like data is such a topic that's very interesting and it always has its nuances. And now with Gen AI, there is also more emphasis that you need to have a really good data strategy, but also going back to the basics, S3 that has always been there, like an object store, but how also it has evolved, not just being an object store, that it also switched into for various different workloads, and it's storing a lot of different formats of data that we also now feed into our Gen AI frameworks. So, but before going into the details of my presentation, maybe just a little bit about myself. So I currently, by profession, I'm a cloud architect at BMW Group, and it's for the 3D vehicle visualization technology. And before that, I was with AWS, and before that with Amazon, and I had an internship at Microsoft, just going back in the timeline. So I've more or less always been in the areas of machine learning and AWS solutions architecture side. And after I moved to BMW Group, I had the unique opportunity that I was approached and asked if I could lead the AWS Women's User Group Munich because I was already part of a Women in Big Data community here in Munich. And so, yeah, since July last year, we launched the AWS Women's User Group Munich, and it's been going great. And we just had our first event for 2025 2 weeks ago at a firm here that's called NordCloud. I don't know if you are familiar with it. So yeah, so there is a lot of interest, and one of my passion is also to empower and bring more women and girls into tech. And I think being involved in such communities and being able to steer these communities gives me a lot of satisfaction that I'm able to give back to the community. And also that Brian mentioned about the New Voices program, and I think it's really good program. So 3 cheers for that if that's interesting for any of you. I think the application process is still open now. The program starts from February 13th, runs until March 13th, I think. Okay, so going actually into the content. So what I'm gonna talk about today, this is about a real problem that we had in one of some time ago in one of our use cases that we were handed down a setup where there were 2 S3 buckets. One had the configuration data and the other had the actual data corresponding to this configuration. And it was many-to-one connection in relationship, in the sense many configurations in the configuration bucket can point to the same data, a data file in the data bucket, and the file format of each of these piece of information stored in the S3 was a JSON file, and each was like less than 1 KB, and there was just simply millions of them. So I will list through the things, what was the current status when I took over these buckets. So it was like completely unpartitioned S3 data in both of these buckets, and it was like huge amount of uncompressed small files, because JSON files, they were just 1 KB, and it was obsolete data was there. Like we try to identify valid data by the date of their creation, and there was no one overview of which data in these buckets were still valid as per the date of creation. And the joining key between the configuration bucket and the data bucket is actually the file name of the JSON file itself. So there was no field within the JSON that was actually the key for the joining, but actually the file name itself. And we will see later how this is a big pain point. So there was about 600 million configuration files, and then about 400 million data files in the other bucket. And so what did we actually wanted to get out of this is we wanted to say, in terms of a simple query from Athena, the ad hoc query engine, we wanted to say, get me all the data pertaining to a configuration where the configuration's JSON file name matches the data JSON file name, and where the data's creation date is, after 1st of January 2024. It seems kind of simple. And as always, the files in configuration in S3 buckets, they always need to map their metadata with the data glue data catalog, so that only then it's queryable by Athena. And this in the when you just look at this, it seems unharmful, should actually run out of the box. But let me also explain why it did not. So for every Athena query result that you get in the response from this query engine, in the current state, we have to use 4 calls to S3. First 2 calls are list calls to get the metadata of the file in the S3, to get their file names, the data file name and the configuration file name, because only then you can do the join. And then you have to get the data within this JSON file, so that then you can use this data in the query result. And what happens? So this is for one Athena query, we are making 4 S3 API calls. So 2 calls to the list API and 2 calls to the get API. And as you know, Athena is serverless service. So it uses concurrent S3 list and get to improve performance. But then it was all affected by the size and structure of how many concurrent queries you run and how the data is partitioned, the complexity of the query, like is a join involved or not, and about available compute resources. And let's see. So this is one Athena query. And it makes parallel concurrent S3 requests in the background. You have to imagine this will result in thousands of such Athena parallel queries that are running and hitting the S3. And if you know, S3 has throttling limits. S3 list API request allows only 300 requests per second, and S3 get API limits by 5,500 requests per second. And this concurrent request easily bombards these throttling limits. But again, Athena is quite intelligent. It also does the back off and retry strategy. So it tries to slow down and slow down and slow down, but it doesn't immediately stop sending requests to S3. And S3 is still struggling. S3 also has an internal logic to improve its performance when it already understands that more requests are coming to it. And S3 is also struggling to accommodate all the requests. And then finally, what's happening? S3 throttling kicks in really strong. 503 slowdown error starts showing up in your logs. It's already a sign that something is the Athena query engine is gonna stop working in some time. And then, yeah, the Athena keeps retrying. Eventually, it will fail. And the solution that we arrived, so given this architecture, so it took us some time to understand, okay, what was actually really causing the failure? So we had to transform the existing S3 data and the configuration and data buckets. We had to plug in place an ETL job, so a standard glue job in this case, which will consume the data from the existing buckets. It will perform some transformation on the data so that it outputs a partitioned files back to S3. And it will also compress them. It will change the format to Parquet, because then these files can be compacted, and it's a columnar format. And then they should again be consumed by the data catalog for their metadata to be realized by Athena. And then you run the same query, a little bit more in steps of what exactly was done. Maybe it's a little bit of too much details, but I think the important part is when you have a raw data, it is not immediately, it doesn't present itself immediately for analytics, or cannot be you cannot easily get insights out of it. So there always has to be a transformation layer on top of your data that can make it better useful and more performing and more efficient if you want to get actually insights out of it. And okay, so what was the result? So the initial Athena query that we ran in unoptimized S3 data, it took about 6+ hours for even us to know that it failed. It failed after 6+ hours. But after we optimized it, it actually ran in less than 3 seconds. So this was like quite a drastic cut down in waiting for the results. So it just sped up a lot of things that we were doing before this optimization was nothing like as an automated, like a weekly thing even. But after this optimization, it was almost instantaneous. And at any time that we needed to have insights, it was just, I don't know, like you just didn't have to think about how much the query is going to cost, because it was just so seamless after that. So the lessons learned here is always, if you're going to derive some insights or need to perform some analytics, always think about your storage layer first. So partitioning your data, really important. And always, usually the partition is by the creation date, month, and year. And use Parquet formats, which are the compact formats of the data. Always compress, because the raw data files, so in S3 for scanning the data, every time you pay by the API request you send to your S3. And when you compacted the files, when multiple files are part of just one single compressed file, then you still pay for it as one API call. And also is cost-wise better. And then optimize your data. So if you have a join key, don't just start consuming it as the file name from S3, because it accesses the S3 metadata then. Instead, make it also part of the data stored in the file. And here's the AWS blog that actually served as a starting point for some of the investigations that we did and helped us get to the point of where we had finally an optimized performing query. And recently in AWS reInvent in 2024, in December, they also announced S3 tables. And so like natively supporting Iceberg table format for the data that you will store in S3. So a natural extension for me on top of this, work that I've done, would be also to port this data into S3 tables, because it does some of the management seamless, because S3 tables is a managed service for Iceberg table formats. And yeah, maybe my next presentation will be about how to use S3 tables for this data. And I am done. So how am I doing about time? Oh, I finished quite on time. Yeah. Do I still?
Finish.
I can't see the others. Yeah. Do we still have time? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But
Go ahead.
but I'm done. I have shared what I really wanted to share about the topic. And if I think the last session is about the Q&A, right? If we want to move to Q&A, I'm completely fine. Or if there is any Q&A for questions for me, I'm also okay to take them. So thank you.
Oh, I finished? Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
You.
it is so great talking. So I checked out the event from 2 weeks ago on LinkedIn, your event. So and S3
Yeah.
had S3 has been evolving rapidly in recent years, and I feel like I need to keep up with the latest information. The S3 table really sparked a lot of buzz at the event as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, oh,
Me?
yeah.
Me?
Yep.
Oh, so today speaks is so I have to so I think to amazing and so I about so uh very nice speaking so sliding uh uh so uh, I knowledge the volume so I short now.
Good,
Back to
good.
Hiromi.
Okay. Uh, okay. So, again, thank you so much. Do you have a question for speakers or something? Okay. Thank you so much of the speakers for the inclusive inclusive talks. Thank you. I totally appreciate, and it made me reflect on my own career and what I want to continue learning. Also, I learned a lot from your presentation styles, and please feel free to share your social media accounts here. And I look forward to staying connected with all of you. And I'm sure there were many things I could have done better, but I hope you continue to support us moving forward. And I'm not sure if this challenging we are taking on with our activity is the right one. And but I want to keep going so that more people can hear all of your voice. Yes. I look forward to the day we can meet again. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great sharing.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Hiromi. Thank you.
Hello.
Stop live.
Live stop. Okay.
Can you stop?
Just a moment.